to you all. Last week I taught a class for our homeschool group, and it was a kids weaving class, just a beginner's class on how to make your own loom from cardboard. And I shared that on my Facebook page, and a few people were interested in how I made the loom and put things together because they wanted to teach kids as well. So this video is for you, and also for any children at home who want to have a go at making your own loom out of basically scrap materials. So what I've started with is I have used my inch ruler, and I've measured out a piece of cardboard that is 8.5 inches wide and 11 inches long. Now for this sort of cardboard, a cardboard box, packing box is perfect. A cereal box is a bit too flimsy, it won't really work, so you need something with a little bit more rigidity than a cereal box. So a regular cardboard packing box is perfect, and if you don't have one at home, your local hardware store or even your local grocery store or something like that might give you one for free. Okay, so now that I've got those pieces cut out, I've also cut out what I'm going to use as my separators, and they measure 8.5 inches across, the same as the width of my loom, and they are 2 inches wide, and you need 2 of those. So once you've got those pieces cut out, you can start measuring up. What I do to measure is I take a texter and my inch ruler, and on the first side, so this is going to be across the width of the loom, not down the length, I measure in, for a start, 1/2 inch, and I make a mark. Okay, and I do the same on the other side, 1/2 inch and make a mark. Now from the top down we will measure 1/2 inch as well. As you go along, just make a dot a few times along, and then we're going to join the dots together and rule a line, and that's going to be your cutting line to make your pegs. Just like that. And once you've got a few dots across, you can just line them up and rule. Okay, so now starting from one of the 1/2 inch measures that you did to begin with, let's just put the ruler across there. We're going to measure every 1/4 inch now and make a mark up. And we keep going with that all the way across to your 1/2 inch measure here. When you've reached the other side, you can flip the loom around to the opposite end and do exactly the same. So we start by measuring a 1/2 inch in this side and a 1/2 inch in this side, and then we do our 1/2 inch dots along, rule our line across there, and then we can start from the 1/2 inch to put in our little 1/4 inch markers right across to the other side again. Now your loom looks like this, and we're ready to cut some slits. If you're a younger person doing this and you're not confident with cutting, because it is sort of fine in between these, get an older person to help you if you can. So what we're going to do is come in from this end, and we're going to cut to that line, roughly to that line. We're going to do that on each of our markers. I should mention as well, if you are a younger person doing this, you can make these 1/2 inches instead of 1/4 inches if you want to. If you end up cutting a little bit beyond that line, don't worry too much. Just try to avoid it. Mine sort of looks like it's cutting beyond there because this is quite a dense cardboard, so it's sort of denting as I'm cutting it. That side's all cut into pegs now, so I'm going to flip around the other side and do exactly the same thing. So both ends are all cut out now. That means that we're ready to put on our warp. Now for yarn, for your warp, you need something that's strong and smooth. If you've got a fancier yarn, use that in the weft. That's the part that goes across when you're actually weaving. For the warp you need something strong and smooth. So I'm using here a 4-ply cotton. You could use an 8-ply cotton, a 10-ply cotton, something even thicker than that if you wanted to, or something thinner as well, depending on your age. So to start with, we'll turn our loom over, and at one of the top corners, we just want to sticky tape that little tail onto there so it doesn't go anywhere when we start winding. Turn that back over. So now we're going to go around our first peg. You may have to manipulate that a little bit if your cardboard's thick like mine. Okay, so that it goes into the first slot. Then we're going to go down to the first slot at the bottom, corresponding slot, like that. Now if you turn it over, this is what the back looks like. Okay, so now that we're at the back, instead of going straight up this way, we're going to go around the next peg down here. Okay. So that it catches on that little peg there. Okay. And then we will go up to the next corresponding slot at the top and through that one. Then we'll go around the back of that peg there. Oops, mine slipped out. Like so. And then down to the bottom, into that slot, and around the back of that peg. Now when you're putting your warp on, you do want to have an even tension, but you don't want it too tight because it's going to probably distort your pegs, and if your cardboard is a little bit thinner, it might buckle the cardboard as well. So yes, an even tension, but not too tight. You don't need to pull it really tight. So it's just that repeated action of up and down and around the pegs. So let's have a look at the back now. You see there how the warp threads at the back are going around the pegs here, not up and down the loom. So we can do that right the way across, and then we'll come back and have a look at the next step when that's all done.